Thank you for joining us. And Accra High Court has dismissed an application filed by lawyers for NDC National Chairman Samuel OfosuAmpofo seeking to put his trial on hold. Justice Samuel said today ruled that the application does not raise any serious issues of fact or law requiring that the court halts proceedings. The first prosecution witness, Benjamin OfosuAmpofo, a broadcast journalist with Accra-based Adom FM, had denied his police investigation statement as well as his witness statement presented by the prosecution. Despite opposition from the defense lawyers, the court admitted the statement into evidence, saying once Mr. J confirmed it was his signature on the document, it remained valid. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court as Justice Asiedu today ruled that halting the trial will lead to an unnecessary delay of the trial. He joins me with details. Hello, Joseph. Did the trial progress? Because we understand another application was made by Ms. Ampofo's lawyers.
Yes, Kamala. So that application related to whether once the court had delivered its decision, whether they had 7 days in order to appeal that decision. And so they had asked that the court does not progress with the case because they were entitled to 7 days to appeal the court's decision. But the judge was of the opinion that that does not arise in this particular matter because this is a criminal matter. And the cases said they had made reference to had interpreted aspects of the procedures at the court that related to civil cases and not criminal matters, which was the current case which is being dealt with. And so he said he was ready to proceed with the case and dismiss that particular application as well. But then one of the defense lawyers, Dr. Bamba, said that the judge's decision was quite novel and interesting of the nature that they would appreciate it, not for the purposes of their consent, but just in the interest of understanding that decision, if the judge would make it available to them and take an agenda in order to enable proceedings to continue. And so with that particular request, the state did not oppose it, and the court granted it as agenda proceedings to Thursday. And so they lost the second application as well, but the court opted to agenda proceedings this time around in order to enable both parties be ready for the trial to progress.
Many thanks, court correspondent Joseph Akable. They are away from the court. President Akufo-Addo has stated emphatically that the peace and stability of a nation will be maintained in the aftermath of the 7th December general elections. President Akufo-Addo was speaking at the 20th anniversary celebration of the founding of a Tertiary Students' Confederation, TESCON, yesterday at Ho in the Volta region in response to assertions made by former President Mahama to the effect that there will be strife, conflict and chaos in the aftermath of the December 7 elections. Addressing a packed Ho Technical University auditorium, the President stated that it is important for the credibility of a national public discourse that public persons are seen to be consistent in their views and advocacy.
There is one thing, though, that I need to say before I wind up my speech, and it is about the conduct of us, public persons. I think it is important for the credibility of our national public discourse that public persons are seen to be consistent in their views and advocacy. It cannot be right that when you are president, you say one thing, and when you become leader of the opposition, you say another. When there was agitation from the NPP about the credibility of the current electoral register, some amongst us went on lawful, peaceful demonstrations. And some also went to court to ventilate their grievance and seek redress. In other words, we took the lawful routes, the constitutionally sanctioned routes. At the time, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, met our agitation over the register with the following words, and I quote, "Tragically for our country, today, the 4th President of the 4th Republic has made a complete volte-face. Listen to his words to the fisher folk who went to visit him the other day. Let me say to the former president 2 things. Firstly, the exclusive constitutional responsibility of the Electoral Commission for compiling an electoral register has not changed. It has done so on 3 occasions since the inauguration of the 4th Republic. None of the registers compiled by the Electoral Commission in 1995, 2004, 2012, the last two in election years, on one occasion when the MPP was in office, the other when the NDC was in office, led to any disturbance or upheaval in the country, despite whatever reservations any of the political parties of the time had over any of these registers. The people of Ghana registered in peace and tranquility and voted accordingly. Secondly, the inconsistency is a matter for him and his conscience. But I want to assure him that there will be no strife, there will be no conflict after the December 7th general election. The good sense of the Ghanaian people, which has preserved the peace and stability of the Fourth Republic for the last 27 years, will continue to prevail, and they will not permit any poor, desperate loser to plunge this country into chaos. Ghana is bigger than the ambitions of any of us.
Now, JoyNews is learning Majority Leader and MP for Swami Osei Chairman Sabunsu may run unopposed in the NPP's upcoming parliamentary primaries, despite potential threat by another aspirant. Polling station executives in the constituency are pushing for a no contest as 600 of them petition party leadership. Constituency Secretary Pius Champon tells JoyNews the petitioners for a majority of 765 delegates. Ohiminteria has more.
Swami NPP Constituency Secretary Pius Champon tells JoyNews the petitioners for majority of 765 delegates. Mr. Chairman Sabunsu has himself filed forms on Tuesday to contest the April parliamentary primaries. He told journalists he is open for contest irrespective of the outcome of the petition.
As I speak to you today, there are about 700 and about 90 delegates, out of whom, as we speak today, 670 have appended their signatures to say that there shouldn't be any contest. So if you are outside there making noise, that's what I said the other time, that clearly is empty noise. We saw this 4 years ago, and what happened? I think that if you are minded to come and contest, do so with decency, not engage hirelings who go on radio on daily basis, pouring invectives, inciting people, and even organizing demonstrations against the party. Whatever the party decides, I'm not the party.
Last week, some chiefs, led by Kwaprahine, Bafo Educhemfi Kumenini, entreated party delegates to allow the majority leader to go unopposed. Their position is in recognition and appreciation of Mr. Osei Chairman Sabunsu's achievement. Swami NPP Secretary Pius Champon says the executives have legitimate concerns which cannot be brushed aside.
Some of the delegates personally came here, including their coordinators and electoral coordinators, They came here telling me that as an administrator for the constituency, they are telling me that they don't want any contest in Swami constituency. Therefore, when the constituency executive committee, we go for a meeting, I should let the executives aware that they don't want any competition or elections or contest in Swami constituency. So later, some of them came here with a petition and signed by some of the polling station executives, chairmen, women organizers, secretaries, youth organizers, and organizers. They came here with a petition like that, and in number, it's more than even 600. And I think that what they are also pleading for is also good for them, because they are ones who are going to vote. And if they don't want any contest, I think the party also have to put that into consideration and see the way forward that we can do to make Swami free. And if we consider their petition, I think that the constituency will grant that for Honorable Osei Chairman Sabunsu to go unopposed, because we depend on the polling station executives. They are our pillars, so we can't just let it go like that. they must come together with the constituency executives to work for MPP party. Therefore, we are going to grant them that wish.
From Kumasi for JoyNews, Ohimintewia reporting.
In February last year, during the State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo promised to use all necessary means to end political party vigilantism. His comment came a few weeks after a by-election at Ayawaso West Wogon turned violent. Speaking on the issue, the president directed then for the two major political parties to meet and find a solution to it. Listen to the president at the 2019 State of the Nation address.
Violence in our country. The events of last Monday in Kumasi, where a meeting of the National Regional Executives of the Opposition National Democratic Congress was broken up by acts of violence, leading to the tragic death of a citizen, have reinforced the urgent need for us to find that path. I want to use the platform of this message to make a sincere, passionate appeal to the leaders of the two main political parties in our country, MPP and NDC, to come together as soon as possible, preferably next week, to agree on appropriate measures to bring an end to this worrying and unacceptable phenomenon of vigilantism in our body politic. Mr. Speaker, I have asked the leadership of the NPP to extend an invitation to the leadership of the NDC for such a meeting. The security services of the country will be on standby to assist this meeting. If voluntary disbandment by the parties is not feasible, then I will initiate legislation in the matter.
Now, following that, the Peace Council started a mediation effort with the two major political parties. The National Democratic Congress has refused to sign the final roadmap to ending political vigilantism in the country. According to the party, the working document on the roadmap is incomplete and called for more stakeholder consultations for better outcomes. The opposition party took the decision at a ceremony to endorse the final document earlier this month. Listen to NDC's Alex Sebefia explain.
We do not think we have exhausted all the possible issues that are required to have a meaningful document that we can all work to. The reason we say so is that when you look at the roadmap, it has 22 recommendations. 4 of those recommendations relate to political parties. 18 of the recommendations belong to others, namely the government, NCCE, civil service organizations, electoral commission, etc. None of these are signatories to the document we are going to sign. So in effect, if you look at the communiques we have already signed with the Peace Council, they actually already cover the 4 items that are directly related to the political parties. We cannot be seen to be signing a document for which other parties who are playing a part do not sign, because then we cannot effectively monitor it, or for that matter, be in a position to deal with ensuring that what we are signing to will be effective. We think that the contents are good, but they do not have a way of making sure that it becomes effective. You will notice that in the signing ceremony, 3 major players are absent. 1, and most importantly, we have never had a government representative in this meeting as a government representative. People may have come who have held portfolios, but they have come in the guise of being members of the New Patriotic Party and not as government.
Now, speaking a while ago on News Desk, Executive Director of the West African Network for Peacebuilding, Chukwuemeka Eze, said though efforts have been made in resolving the issue, he expects some concrete steps to be taken.
The president needs to reassure the citizenry of his posture with regards to the current security challenges, not just in Ghana, but the threat that is posed by the neighboring countries, as it were. That's number one. Number two is that he also needs to further reassure everybody about the political will to allow the state agencies to do their work professionally. And then I'm talking here more particularly about the bodies, the election management bodies, the judiciary, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, look into the long term as it relates to the sustainable development goals and how fast Ghana is going to address those key issues, those 17 key issues, to ensure that the country's prosperity is in the right direction.
Now, government has dispatched cartons of assorted local food items to China to be distributed to 151 Ghanaian students stranded in Wuhan, the epicenter of a new coronavirus disease. Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko-Botwe, who announced this, said the items had been shipped to Ghana's mission in Beijing for onward delivery to the students in the lockdown Wuhan city. Here is Minister for Foreign Affairs giving details.
These are a list of students with their, those who have accounts, with their account numbers that we're sending $500 each. And it's not just students, but even Ghanaians within Wuhan province who we know are there. So this is what we have done. I realized that in a situation like this, even if the Chinese government were providing food, first of all, that's not the kind of food that our people are used to. But in a situation like this is an emergency situation, so they'll have to take it like that. But I was getting calls that the food wasn't food that they were happy with. So I took a decision that we would quickly find a way of getting them some foods that they're familiar with, and which is why this whole Gary, I haven't gone out to say anything, but this Gary and all these food matter came into the public domain, and I quickly organized it. And you can just imagine, because of the emergency situation, I had to send Gary and Shito and stuff by DHL. You can just imagine the cost. But for me, it was very necessary.
Madam Shirley Ayoko-Botwe has also been explaining why the students have not been airlifted from Wuhan yet.
I tell you that the idea of evacuation came from us as a government. That should we evacuate our people, and if we were to evacuate, how would we do it? So we started consulting the government of China. They said that the aircraft would have to come to Wuhan. In one of the conversations even, the ambassador said to the students that if you could even find us an aircraft, I mean, we're looking, but no aircraft wants to go to Wuhan. The students, we totally, government totally, Mr. President totally understands the situation in which they are. But as at last week, Wednesday, we felt we should let them know that evacuation is not possible at this point. And so they were informed. And this is why all these other measures to sort of support has been put in place. So this conversation has been going on with the student body. And if they say that today we say this, tomorrow we say it, it's because of the fluidity of the whole situation. Finding an aircraft, can't find one. At some point, I was told that Egypt was the only country north of the Sahara who have evacuated. Now they have a coronavirus case that they had evacuated. I even wanted to talk to the foreign minister to find out whether it was possible.
But speaking on News Desk a while ago, Vice President of NUCS in Wuhan, Michael Adney, said they are disappointed at government's seeming inaction.
Our embassy have not done something like that. They speak to us online. And also, as we speak, it is on the way coming with the second batch of 8 students in Wuhan. So at least if the Minister of Foreign Affairs should place call to, for instance, the Prime Minister of Airlines, they are running 35 flights to China in a week. Egypt have done it. Morocco have done the evacuation. So I think a Pan-African cooperation could solve some of these challenges, where our president takes the lead instead of the embassy in Beijing. So we believe that if the president is having a political will, then definitely there will be a way. For instance, Saudi Arabia came to Wuhan with a big aircraft to evacuate 10 students. Just 10 students. They should tell us the truth. That is it.
What is the truth that you want to hear? What is it that you want to hear? What's that truth? You think somebody is lying?
They basically don't want to evacuate us. That is what, because
why would they not want to? Because you're all citizens of Ghana.
Mama V, you see, this is not only about medicine or medical something. It's about our dignity. It's about our life at stake. So we believe that if other countries are doing it, Ghana can do it. It's not a matter of having aircraft or having a national aircraft. The health experts have advised the president that we have been told that they don't have the facilities back to quarantine us. But we all know that 270 people who have been evacuated can be quarantined, we can be divided. So we realize that whenever we counter their excuse, they come out with something new. Last week, they said they don't have facility. So we came out with the idea that then it will divide us into groups. And now they are coming out with a new excuse. They keep shifting the goalposts. And the atmosphere here is not good for academic work. They have started academic work. The universities have advised people to stay for their own safety and study online. So the Ghanaian thing here, how to study at such an environment? We can't even talk to our parents because when we tell them the situation here, there are a whole lot of back. Our parents' BP are high. We are disappointed and very helpless because the city is locked down. As a matter of fact, I can't get out of my hostel. I'm locked down, basically at house arrest. So though our parents have provision for us to come a week.
Now, when 22-year-old Crystal Nelson spoke to her mother on the phone 4 weeks ago, she did not know that was going to be their last conversation. The level 300 student had called her mother for a discussion, but she said she was returning from a trip and promised her daughter she will call back when she arrives in Accra. That did not happen as she died on the spot in an accident just 5 minutes after that chat. Crystal's mother, 51-year-old Doris Nelson, was buried over the weekend. Maxwell Agbagba was there and brings us the story as part of our Arrive Alive campaign to stop the numerous accidents on our roads.
A woman wailing very close to the remains of the deceased Doris Nelson. She lies in state. It is the last time family, friends and loved ones will see her. It is an atmosphere of grief and sorrow. It was a normal day on January 12, 2020. Doris Nelson was traveling with her husband Nelson back to Accra from Kwando after a visit. Her daughter, a level 300 student of the University of Development Studies, had spoken with her mom while she was aboard a vehicle on which she was traveling. Her mom promised to call her back, but no, it was her last call. It has been hours of church service at Ashama branch of the Global Evangelical Church. Doris Nelson is now making her final journey to the last cemetery. I've met her son, Owusu Confidence. He says his mother is irreplaceable.
It was very devastating. My heart just teared apart. I just don't know what to say. But it was in around 7 p.m. that I phoned my mom, phoned my dad, couldn't get them. So I tried to phone again, tried on different occasions, couldn't get them. So the last one that I tried is then that my father picked it up and told me that he had an accident. See, the vehicle was overspeeding. The vehicle was overspeeding. And meanwhile, there was nothing. The road even there is good. It's a very good road. So all of a sudden, overspeeding, and then the car started somersaulting. They said the car somersaulted 3 times. So my mom fell out of the vehicle. She died? Yes, please. Instant. They say she didn't talk, she didn't say anything.
What kind of person was she to you?
My mom is 50% of my life. 50%. I can't express it more, but she's 50%. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding that this time around, the death, car crash is becoming unbecoming. Unnecessary car crash at any given time. Please, if you know that you drink, don't drive. It's simple. Why will you do so? Disturbing people's soul. Why?
The daughter of the deceased, Crystal Nelson, has been narrating how she heard the news.
I was in school when my auntie broke the news to me. I couldn't believe it because I spoke to my mom on that Sunday and she told me she was in the vehicle coming home. So when she gets home, she will call me. So I couldn't believe it. When she told me, I told her that it's not my mom. Maybe it's my grandmom or someone in my family, not my mom. Because
he was taken for dead, his supposed corpse covered with palm fronds and abandoned at the accident scene after a Land Cruiser vehicle ran into his BMW car near his house just after close of work. Emergency service team called in to convey victims, including 2 members of parliament, Muntaka Mubarak and Ahmed Ibrahim, left him behind. That is the traumatic story of William Champong, a custom officer involved in a near-fatal accident on the main Kumasi-Accra road last Saturday. He has been speaking with my colleague Ohemin Teria, who filed this report.
The decision of the second-in-command at the Kumasi Customs checkpoint to dash home after work to freshen up for lectures ended him being pronounced dead.
I had closed from the morning and I'm offering a course at NIT, Software Engineering. So I had a class at 11. So around 9 o'clock in the morning, I fell out from duty and I was going to our rest room to pick up my few staffs with me so that I will bath, change and proceed to Kumasi for the class at the NIT. Just a few meters from the barrier, if I'm not exaggerating, it will be like less than 100 meters from just the barrier. Just approaching the junction to our branch to the house, I showed the traffic indicators as usual. My left hand was outside to add up to the signals to signal the incoming vehicles from behind. And so I had done that. I was virtually out entering into where our residential facility is, and all of a sudden the car ran into my vehicle from behind, and that was the last thing that I could saw.
Just moments after setting off in his BMW car, volunteers pulled him, presumably lifeless, after a Land Cruiser vehicle whose occupants included the MPs ran into his car.
I lost consciousness, so at the scene I don't know what exactly happened, but I was informed that they put branches of leaves on me, thinking that I was dead.
Mr. Echampon tells me how he was taken for dead as he lay by the roadside helpless. It took a God-sent, courageous colleague who was reporting to work for the very first time to do mouth resuscitation to bring him back to consciousness. That intervention was timely.
But for the intervention of the officer that came and tested for my pulse and did the mouth-to-mouth inhalation,
I don't know what would have happened to me. The guy that came to even do the mass resuscitation and stuff was a new officer that has been posted to the place. So I took my time. I happened to be the second in command there. So I took my time and explained the procedures and processes that goes on there to him. And I told them that, oh, may I call class, and I will come very soon after the class, because they are virtually new hands there. I didn't want to leave them. And we're waiting for the old hands there to come and support them. So I told them that, oh, I have lectures at 11, so I have to rush down to class and come back. And in less than 5 minutes, I was pronounced dead.
Coming up in business, various government projects to get major boost as African Trade Insurance Agency launches operations here in Ghana.
The role of this institution, the ATI, is to take that risk away by guaranteeing, by ensuring the investor who is coming in here. Daryl Kwa will join me shortly with details of that and other stories here on News Today. Please stay with us.